So, Joe Rohne,
Yep,
welcome to the podcast today.
glad to be here.
Very happy to have you here. You are doing a lot of stuff these days. You've got the short-term rentals. I saw you have a daycare too. You can tell us a little bit about that.
We do.
Let's start with just kind of your background and how long have you been in St. Louis area, the region?
I grew up here, so I was born in St. Peters.
Okay.
So I've lived here my whole life, and went into the corporate retail world right out of high school, and
Okay.
did that for 15 years, and had a small accident in my family with my daughter, and that kind of shifted gears, and that's when I actually jumped into owning a lawn and landscape company for about 10 years.
Okay.
But as while I was doing that is when I started doing real estate.
Okay.
Doing lawn and landscape, I was mowing a lot of yards, reading books, listen to every podcast I can, reading every real estate book I could, from investing to being a realtor to whatever it could be,
Yeah.
and jumped in about almost 5 years ago.
Wow.
To get my license. So
Okay.
part-time for the first few years. This is actually my first full 12 months of going full-time. So
Really? Okay. And so first 12 months as
Yep.
a full-time real estate agent, how's it been?
I mean, doing it part-time was, I couldn't grow it. And
Yeah.
I was being held back. So, in the past 12 months, I've sold more in the past 12 months than I did the 3 years prior to that. And the sky's the limit. I mean, it's,
Amazing.
there's more, I have more stuff in the pipeline right now than I've had in the entire 5 year span that I've been in this business.
Oh,
So
it's exciting. So what is it about being full-time? What are you able, because we talk to our agents about this all the time as well. It's very difficult to balance both,
It
right?
is.
And if you're not focused on that and really putting into place processes and systems, and you're not monitoring those systems and you're not doing the reach out, it's very
Yep.
difficult to grow a real estate business. So for you, what has enabled you to kind of take it up to the next level?
I think mindset is a big part of it. When you already have when you have a job that's paying the bills and
Yeah.
you don't have to hustle, you
Uh-huh.
don't have to put in the extra work to go out and get the extra
Yeah.
business and talk about it every single day.
Right.
It's just kind of an extra thing. Oh, if I get a couple deals, great,
Mhm.
And that's what most part-time agents are doing. It's they're making their money in another way. So this is just a little extra.
Yeah.
When you jump full-time, it's sink or swim. And in
Yeah.
every business I've ever done in my life, that's your options, right? Sink or
Yeah.
swim. So once you decide to go all in, you gotta go for it every
Burn
day.
the boats, right? You've heard that saying?
Yeah.
If you want to take the island, burn the boats.
Exactly.
Yeah, no
Exactly.
retreat. Yeah, well, that's awesome. I'm really excited to hear that things are going so well and that you have some experience that you're bringing to the table too. We were talking about that before we hit record on this, but the experience that you have with the short-term rentals, share a little bit about what that has been for you. You manage them? Do you own them? Like, how's that experience been and how long have you been doing that?
Yep. So after I got my license, I knew one of the reasons why I wanted to get my license was I wanted to get into real estate investing. My very, very first realtor that ever sold me my first house back 23 years ago, when I first started talking about getting into real estate, she said, Joe, don't just do real estate. She's like, I made the mistake and I'm, 70 years old now and I'm still trying to sell houses to pay bills. Make sure you're getting into something else. Make sure you're investing. Make sure you're doing this kind of stuff.
Sure,
And it's like,
yeah.
I agree. Like that's the future. So I knew I wanted to get into real estate investing, and I didn't want to get into long-term rentals. And I felt like short-term rentals was the area I wanted to go with. So a little over 2 years ago, my wife and I bought our first beach house in Panama City Beach.
Wow, awesome.
And managed it ourselves. And actually within 2 weeks, I had an investor that I had done 7 deals with in St. Louis.
Okay.
He saw what I was doing and said, I want to do that too. So we partnered and he bought a second house on the same street that I bought one.
Really?
So within 2 weeks, I had 2 under contract to do short-term rentals, and I've been managing them ever since.
Okay.
And that grew into managing for others.
That's amazing. And some of those in the Missouri market as well, right?
Yeah, so we have 7 total 2 that we own, 5 that we manage in Panama City Beach,
Yeah.
and then we also manage 2 cabins in Branson.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, both great short-term rental markets.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and that's my target is vacation rental markets.
Okay.
I know short-term rentals in St. Louis and St. Peters and
Mhm.
St. Charles County has gotten really popular over the years.
Yeah.
It's just not my niche. My niche is
Yeah.
vacation rentals.
Yeah.
I like the vacation side of it.
And talk to us a little bit about the model, because it's fascinating to me, the short-term rental model. What are the vacancy rates that you kind of are tracking, and how do you get it off of the ground? Because I know that having enough reviews on there and all can really drive whether people are going to pull the trigger or not. So what was it like the very first year with that first rental for you?
I mean, it was a profitable year. I mean, did we kill it? No, but we paid all the bills.
Yeah.
We got the rental on live,
Mhm.
and Airbnb does a good job of giving you a new listing boost. So as soon as you go
Okay.
live, they give you a big boost to get you at the top of the algorithms for the
Hmm.
first at least 4 to 5 weeks. So you try to get as many bookings as you can in there, and the short-term rental game has changed. It used to be that you could take your basement, throw a couch and a TV in there, and put it on
Yeah.
Airbnb, and you're going to be great.
I've stayed in somebody's garage. I went to California and it looked like this beautiful spot,
Yeah.
right? Like right on the beach. And it was like their garage.
Yeah.
And it was on the
Yeah,
concrete
but
floor.
that's what Airbnb was founded on
Yeah.
was the shared
Sure.
space,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody was in VRBO,
Yeah. It
so
was $60, by the way. So I wasn't complaining too much.
yeah, no, that's not bad, not bad. But today in today's Airbnb or short-term rental world, you have to have a good design. You got to have amenities. You got to have professional photography. You got to have video marketing. If you want to be a top 5%, top 10%, just like being a real estate agent, you got to be all in, right? You can't just have an average property.
Right.
My mentor, Bill Faith, he always talks about super properties. What do you got to do to be a super property? That doesn't mean you have to be a 5-bedroom home on the beach.
Yeah.
It can be a 2-bedroom home off the beach, but you have to make it stand out better than everybody else. And that's my wife and I with that listing. We wanted to take it to the next level, so we went down in January and we built a tiki bar in the backyard, fire pit with lights around it.
I love it. That's
brought in
great.
a bunch of rock, and now our bookings are increasing, and we're expecting a 20% increase this year.
Amazing. Yeah, some of those small little features can add a lot, right?
Yep.
And a lot of interest on the viewings that you get, right?
Yep. Those first 5 photos, the 5 photos are going to capture some of the attention. I do the same thing with listing a house.
Yeah.
It's not in order of how the house goes. It's you need those first 2 or 3 photos on Zillow to capture the attention.
Yes.
And it might be the pool or the great back basement with the game room or whatever it may be.
Yes.
And then phase into the rest of the house because you need to capture that audience first.
I'm still amazed when I go and I'm looking at listings and the agent takes them with their iPhone.
Oh,
you know, I mean, it's so easy now. It's like $200.
It is, and our phones do take good pictures, but it's $200 to $300 to have a professional photographer to have fantastic photos. I think it's embarrassing having agents in our industry that still do that.
I do too. I think that's part of why the perception, of real estate agents is not that great, and why now that we have this, the NAR settlement and all this stuff that's happening in our industry, we're going to have to do a much better job articulating what it is about being a real estate agent. What value do we bring to the table? Especially as buyer's agents. We're more used to it, right? On the listing side.
Yep.
You have your list of things and you're doing your listing presentation. What's going to be the same thing on the buyer's side? We've got to articulate why we deserve a 2-3% commission, because that's a lot. When you're selling a house, that's a lot of money to give up on that. So we darn well better be providing the value and helping people understand what it is.
It's being a buyer's agent more than putting someone on a drip and saying, hey, call me when there's something available.
It should be.
You got to be out there. Sometimes it's previewing. I do a lot of previews for my clients where I know what they're looking for. So instead of me taking to 9 houses on Saturday, I'm taking to 2 or 3 because I've already seen the ones, that I know they're going to say no, because we've already been to other houses and said, I don't like this, or I don't like that. So it's we don't want to waste their time.
Right. Well, let's go back to the short-term rentals for just a second, because I want to finish and close the loop on that. So the second year, the first year, you kind of broke even, you made a little bit of money maybe.
Yep.
What happened in the second year to really get things moving?
So our second year will actually finish up this summer, and we're projecting a 20% increase.
Wow, that's awesome.
And because we closed in middle of 22 on that first property, but once we did that, then we started managing for others, and now, I mean, we have a full system in place. I'm actually interviewing VAs right now to handle some of the back end stuff, because when you're managing 9 properties on a daily basis, and my focus is still real estate, right? I can manage most properties in less than 2 hours a week, but that time, it's still time that takes away from other stuff.
Sure. It's time you're not prospecting, and if you can pay somebody else to do it. Why not?
Virtual assistants are a great way to do it.
Are you using one now?
So I actually just started interviewing. I interviewed 3 the other day. I got 2 more interviews tomorrow, and trying to narrow it down to actually looking for 2. One virtual assistant that can handle more like back end bookkeeping type stuff. And then one that's going to help with some more social media content
Cool.
marketing, that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
Is there a particular service that you're going through? Because I know there's a number of them out there. Are you willing to share that?
I actually just going through the Philippines website
Oh,
and
really? Okay. Yeah.
going through them. So
Yep.
it's, you put an ad out there, have about 100 people or so reach out
Yeah.
to say they want to do it, and then you got to
Wow.
narrow it down.
Yeah.
Narrow it
Yeah,
down to
yeah,
the good ones, because there are some amazing people there that know their job and do really great work.
right, right,
And
right.
it's just finding the right ones.
Yeah, I just talked to a guy, another broker that's using a virtual assistant, and he's paying him like $5 to $7 an hour
Yep.
to do the work that he'd be paying somebody here $30 or $40 an hour to
Exactly.
do, you know?
Exactly. And it's it's your $10 tasks, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's your
right.
small tasks of going in and doing some listing optimization and
Yeah,
move
yeah.
some pictures around, and make sure the email marketing campaign is
Right.
actually off. Even
Yes.
though you're typing up the email, they're just going on the back end to make sure everything's set.
As much as you can get automated and as much as you can offload, right? So that you're doing the activities that are
Yeah.
going to bring you the most reward for what you're doing. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more time I can spend with my clients,
Yes. Yeah.
is much better for everyone.
So what are the areas that you like to focus on, or that you do focus on? What part of the region here are you able to help people in?
I'm mostly in St. Charles and Lincoln County.
Okay.
I've done a few St. Louis County deals, but
Huh.
I grew up in St. Charles or St. Peter's area. That's my network. That's my sphere of influence.
Yeah.
Everybody that I know is pretty much, we joke crossing the Missouri River is, it's like going to the city for us out in St. Charles County. So, I spend most of my time out there.
Okay. All right, cool. And
Yep.
what are you doing in your business right now to like grow and kind of ratchet it up now that you've got full-time focus on it? What are the activities that you're spending time on?
So, obviously sphere of influence, making those phone calls is a big part of it. Actually getting ready to mail out 900 mailers next week.
Wow, good for
so
you.
we're gonna
Okay.
do some postcards, because
Awesome.
I think it's really important to do old school realtor things
Mhm.
and new school realtor
Mhm.
things, right? And then trying to create more video content. So do some more Facebook ads, TikToks, Reels.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a Instagram called Joe the Real Estate Guy.
Okay.
And I'll go on there and, talk about what's happening in the market, or,
That's awesome.
just do a tip of the week or
Yeah,
whatever it is. So we're trying to grow that. It's not a lot of followers yet, but
Okay.
it's in the beginning
Maybe we'll
stages.
add a few more.
So
people see this.
Yep. Yep. So in the beginning stages, but it's pretty fun doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me about the daycare business. I'm jumping all over the place.
Oh,
I hope
no,
you don't
yeah.
mind.
No,
Tell me about
so
the daycare.
my wife and I, we always knew we wanted to be entrepreneurs, and and my wife was a director of a daycare. That's what she went to school for.
Okay.
And we knew like that was a business we wanted to do. So this is back in 2006, 2007. We actually bought our daycare in 2007. It was from an owner that was ready to retire. She had been in the business for a while and was ready to retire. And so we were able to go in and buy her business from her. It was kind of a little bit turnkey. It was showing negative in the red for a couple of years before we bought it. And but we knew what my wife's ability, and then we had a great director that was actually already in the center. Between the two of them, it's one of the most highly rated centers in St. Charles County. So
what's the name of it?
Teddy Bear Academy.
Teddy Bear Academy.
It's off of Old Highway 94, Muge area.
Yeah, yeah. There's a real need for that. I mean, I know when our kids were young, like if you're working parents, like most parents now, there's dual working household, right? So,
it is, and we're really fortunate. We have teachers. Most daycare centers have teachers that have been there 1 to 2 years. We have teachers that have been with us 5, 10, 15 years. Our director's been with us 20 years. More, we've actually owned it for 17.
Okay.
She was there 3 years before us. So so having the amazing staff we have is what's made it successful over the years, and want to hopefully continue for many more years.
Yeah, that's really neat. And so your wife runs that?
She does.
Okay.
She does. We do have a director that does a lot of stuff, but my wife is still in it every single day.
Okay.
And but she's also a big part of my short-term rental space. She's my designer.
Oh, really?
She does. We're taking over managing a new house in 3 weeks in Panama City Beach. It's a 5-bedroom, 5-bath, in-ground pool on the beach. Right, it's going to be our first like premier property.
Cool.
But it needs a full redesign. So my wife spent 3 weeks making boards, design boards, getting owner approval. We just spent about $10,000 on Amazon 2 nights ago, ordering all the stuff to be shipped down there. So we're going to be down there in a couple weeks setting up that house and wallpapering and painting and doing all kinds of stuff, because we want to make it a super property.
Man,
We got
that's
to take it to the
awesome.
next level. So she's a big part of the short-term rental space on that side of it.
Is there a plan that you followed? I mean, is there like a program that you have subscribed to, or that you have a mentor that taught you how to do all this stuff? Because I
I
know there's a
did.
lot to know.
I did. I mean, I listened to every single podcast, and there's a lot of influencers out there, right?
Sure,
They're all
yeah.
the ones that are going to say, okay, do this or do that. And I found the one that I resonated with the most.
Yeah.
And he had a plan, a similar plan that I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I joined his program 2 years ago. Spent pretty good amount of money to be part of his accelerator program. It's about a 3-month program, and
Okay.
just learned everything I could. I wanted to be,
Yeah.
anything I do, I always want to be the expert. Right?
Yeah,
I want to be the best of the best, right?
It's great.
So I joined his plan, and it's been life changing.
Has it?
Honestly, life changing.
Yeah.
I mean, I built my property management business went from 0 to 6 figures in 1 year.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So
That's incredible.
I started at January of last year, and we will do well over 6 figures in property management this year.
With just the 9 properties?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. Actually, just 7 properties managing, because the other 2 I don't count them because I own them.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
the
right.
7 that I manage will be well over 6 figures of income.
That is amazing. So what's the structure like for property management in short-term rentals? Do you take a percentage of the profits? Do they pay you like on a
It's
per client
20% gross
Okay.
gross income, gross revenue.
Yeah.
So if a property does $100,000 a year, we get paid $20,000 a year to
Yeah.
manage that property.
Wow.
So we do it a little differently. Like most property managers, they collect all the money
Mm-hmm.
and then give the owner what's left over.
Okay.
We do what's called the co-hosting model, which is an Airbnb thing.
Huh.
And I create the listing in the owner's name.
Okay.
So everything's in their name. They collect all the money.
Huh.
All the money flows to them, and at the
Okay.
end of the month, they just pay me a fee.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the advantages of doing it that way is most property managers, like the big companies of the world, have thousands of properties underneath their thing.
Yeah.
This way, their property has its own superhost status, its own star rating, its own everything based on that one property. And then if we ever do part ways, or they decide they want to self-manage, they have to start over and start a whole new property. They just take over their own property. I hand them over the information, and
That
they
sounds
can
like the
do it.
right way to do it.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm helping them for the ones that can't manage it themselves.
Yeah.
But I also, as a realtor in Florida, I help investors learn how to self-manage too. So I'll teach them.
So you're teaching too.
How to
You're
teach them
mentoring
how to self-manage themselves if that's something that they want to do.
That's amazing.
I don't just want to manage everybody's property. I actually have a property has to do a certain amount of value for me to manage it. I've probably turned down over a dozen this year.
Really?
Because it takes me the same amount of time to manage a property that does $200,000 a year as it does at one does $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
I'm getting 20% of that revenue.
Right.
I'd much rather spend my time on a $200,000 property, right?
Yeah.
So we really only focus on luxury properties.
What's your competition? Are there a lot of other single operators like you, or are there big companies now that are managing these things in bulk?
So it's both, but the single operators are growing because technology allows us to do that. 10 years ago, if you had a vacation rental in Panama City Beach, you had to hire a local property manager. You couldn't manage it from home. You didn't have a phone. I have 9 apps on my phone that I use every day, from my property management system to my pricing software to my messaging system to all these different things. I build directly booking websites for every property I have so I can run ads to them. So all of that stuff allows us to be more successful than the big companies. Because the big companies, your house is one of 1,000, or it's just a number, right? How are they marketing your property?
Exactly.
Where I'm running Facebook ads specifically for each property separately to drive traffic to it, to drive more business.
That's so great. I feel like I'm getting a master class here.
The big companies can't do that. So so I enjoyed. I started my mastermind, and that mastermind group has helped me learn. And
tell me about the mastermind.
It's one of those things that just kind of fell into place. I didn't plan out to go out and start a mastermind. I went to some big events. I went to a couple big conferences, met some people through the group that I joined.
Short-term
rentals specifically. And I wanted to learn more. And most of these big influencers charge tens of thousands of dollars to join their program. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot of people in this space that are like me that want to do that. So let's just do our own thing. So I started my own, got about 9 people. We do bi-weekly Zoom calls and just share ideas and help each other, hold each other accountable. And it's a win-win for everyone. Every other Wednesday is or every Tuesday morning. And for that one, I thoroughly enjoy my hour to hour and a half calls with those people because
And
it's
collaboration with peers and people that are of a like mind and doing similar things that you're doing, right? And
Yep.
that are probably at different success levels as well.
yeah,
It's
very
so
much.
critical.
So the coolest thing is I started this in June, and at
Mhm.
that time I had 2 properties that I was managing. I had a
Okay.
couple in the pipeline that hadn't signed on yet, but I was managing 2 properties.
Yeah.
The other 8 members in my group had 0.
Wow.
Today,
Yeah.
9 months later, we're sitting at 26 properties managed between us.
Wow.
And no, 28, because we have one person in our group that just got his first 2. He
Okay.
wasn't ready to get started until recently, so
Yeah,
he just
yeah.
landed his first 2.
Huh.
So we're up to 28 new
That's
managed
fantastic.
properties just since June,
That's
since we
incredible.
started. So
That's incredible.
it's pretty cool.
If my brother is watching this, he's going to be really jealous because he has an HOA management company
Mhm.
and he manages about 14,000 doors
Oh,
in
boy.
these HOAs.
Uh-huh.
I guarantee you,
Uh-huh.
the 6 figures for 9 is going to sound pretty doggone
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So my mentor, Bill, I think he owns 10, but he manages 11. And in
Okay.
his 11 that he manages is like $400,000 a year in income.
Wow.
Because he's managing properties that do $300,000
Yeah.
to $400,000 a year each.
Right.
You
right.
know, I mean, he's got properties in like Outer Banks that do,
Yeah.
almost $500,000. And when you're managing that, that's
Wow, that's amazing.
significant income for not only that owner, but
Sure.
for the manager as well.
Sure. Is it pretty competitive? I mean, if you're going to get new business, right, and you're trying to find new clients, is it kind of like when you're going to like wholesalers? Like if you go to purchase a property and you sit down at a house with somebody, and they're looking to sell their house at kind of a discount in a wholesale situation. They've probably got a stack of 9 other letters that they've gotten. They've already met with 6 other people that want to buy that house.
Yep.
And it's very, very competitive. Same thing with real estate agents, right? Like most people they know 5 or 6 real estate agents.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just whoever's top of mind, but a lot of times it's a competitive situation.
Yeah.
Where you're going in and there's 3 other real estate agents that have come before you. Is it similar or is that space not as crowded?
It's not as crowded because there are so many big companies, and most of the owners that I've managed for, they didn't even consider. I just picked up the phone and called them.
Really?
And what I did is I have a research plan where I can, there's a thing called AirDNA.
Okay,
It's a
yeah,
website,
yeah.
you pay for the data, and it'll tell you exactly how much revenue a house is doing.
Yeah.
So I'll go in and I'll find houses that I think are in my area that are underperforming.
Mhm.
And then I'll find the address, look them up in tax records, and just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, tell me about your property management company and how do you like them and what's going on with you? And in almost every situation, and I can honestly say I'm 90% of the people that I've asked for me to manage have said yes.
Oh my God,
I've only
why
had
aren't
one.
you asking more people?
Well, it takes time, right?
Okay, yeah, you're doing it in the right amount of time you want to make sure.
I'm
you
at
get
a
it
point
right.
where this year I got 7 plus my 2 that I
Okay,
own.
yeah.
I got my systems in place. We're in great shape.
Mhm.
And then come August, right now is a bad time to go ask people to manage their property because
Okay.
even a bad property manager is booking their summer, right?
Okay, yeah.
So you're not going to get someone to say, hey, switch over to me in the middle of summer.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
But in August, when the summer's over, they realize they didn't make as much money.
Mm,
And I'll give an example. I have a property that I took over in September.
okay,
His property manager all of last year did $31,000.
okay.
We did 12 in March.
Whoa.
We're on pace to do 90,000 in that house
That's
this
a
year.
massive
So we're gonna
difference.
triple his income,
Yeah.
and my rates are the same as his property manager, but his
Yeah.
property manager is one of these bigger companies that it was just a number, and he's like, I'm losing money on this deal.
Interesting.
And and we're we did some redesign, we changed a few things up. And
Okay, I was just gonna
and,
ask, what was it that helped you kind of move them to the next
the
level?
biggest thing is listing optimization. So it's you want your house to show up first on Airbnb.
Okay.
And there's algorithms. And if you just let your listing sit stagnant for 30 days, it's gonna end up on page 17. I go in every single day and change things, move pictures around, change the listing description, change titles, whatever it may be. Pricing is a big thing, even if we only go up $10 or down $10.
Yeah.
It's just Airbnb algorithms picks that up and says, oh, this is an active owner.
Yeah.
They're actually working in their business. And it gives you boosts in the rankings. So,
wow.
And if you stay at the top of the list, you can raise your prices more.
Yeah.
It's just like being on Google. If you were on Google page 5, how many people are calling you? But if you're on Google page 1,
right,
you're going to get more phone calls.
Right, of course.
Right. So you want to be at the top.
Yeah. I mean, we've all gone to look for a house, for a rental, and you usually don't make it to page 3 or 4.
No,
right? You're looking at those first
same,
1 or 2.
Same thing with Airbnb. If you put in your search parameters, say, I'm looking for a 5-bedroom to sleep this many people, pet friendly, at this by the beach. That first 10 to 15, maybe 20 are the first ones you're looking at.
Yeah.
You may go a little further than that, but most time not. A lot of times they're just stopping.
What are your, do you have any specific goals for this year? Like how many rentals you want to manage, how many you want to own? Like, you're building your portfolio, I imagine.
I am. So we're hoping to purchase our third
Okay.
by the end of this year. We're targeting a couple of different markets, non-beach markets. So
Okay, really?
looking at a few other areas throughout the nation that are still vacation rental markets, but not Branson and not Panama City Beach.
Okay.
And then so we do want to own our third one by the end of this year.
Okay.
And then I really only want to add 2 more management properties, maybe 3 by the end of this year.
Okay.
Because I feel like 12 is the magic number. Like I feel like if I get 15 or 20, then I'm becoming one of these companies that has stagnant listings.
Yeah, well, and then you have to hire people, you've got to get all this other support, and that cuts into your profits. There is a magic, like in every business, there's like that inflection point. And you go down for a little bit and then you go back up, hopefully.
Yeah. So I feel like that 12 is the magic number. And now after I have 12, I may say, well, I think 15 is the magic number. But I don't want to grow too big to get overwhelmed at this point.
Sure.
It's going really well the way it is, and I may end up dropping 1 or 2 down the road, that didn't perform as well or whatever it may be, but as more larger ones come up, whatever it may be, but right now it's not focused on a ton of growth. It's more specialized growth.
And talk to us about helping your clients, your retail clients in St. Louis and around the region here. So do you have any specific goals there? Are you looking to grow that to a certain number of transactions and people that you're helping a year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the real estate world, we want as many as we can, right? But I have goals of this year of hitting $10 million in total sales. Which when you break that down to, your average transaction of $275,000, it breaks down to how many transactions you got to have, right? Now, in that 10 million is included in my Florida real estate, which I've already closed over 2 million this year. But I have $100 million under contract down there now, so that's gonna help. Doing straight 10 million here. Not saying I can't do it; it's still a goal. But cumulative between the two is my goal, is to hit 10 million. So
did you know that more than 60% of real estate agents across the country had not sold a house as of a couple of weeks ago? Like they had done no transactions this entire year.
Oh, I know.
So good for you. So a couple under your belt already.
Actually, pretty excited. I just got as I was walking in, I got a house under contract last night in Silex, Missouri. So
that's awesome.
Which when I get done here, I got to go home and put the listing.
Congratulations.
And this is kind of how it shows you how the market's changed. This is my first ever sale contingent on selling the house.
Wow.
An accepted contract, for a house that my client's buying, contingent on selling house in an approved deal. And we haven't seen that a lot in the past 5 years. So pretty excited about it. Obviously, we have a house that's going to sell this weekend. It's a Troy $200,000 downtown updated home. It's going to go quick.
Great.
So I'm not concerned about it, and the other agent obviously isn't either because of that situation. But I haven't seen a contingent contract like that.
In sight. Then I mean, you're tracking towards it.
I definitely think 10 million is very much realistic for this year.
Talk to me about some of the trends and things that you're seeing. You just mentioned that you see the market shifting. Where are you seeing the market shift, and particularly like in St. Louis here? What are you seeing?
I mean, we still don't have enough inventory, right? I mean, month over month, March this year to last year, we're down 40 something houses on the market in St. Charles County. And I specifically look at St. Charles and Lincoln County, but we're down in houses on the market even from a year ago. So we definitely need more listings, but I think a lot of that, with it being election years, there's a lot of questions, and then the Fed has said they're going to cut rates, and they said they weren't, and what are they going to do, right? So if we get that rate cut in the next 90 days, I think
what happens if it goes down to 5 or 5.5 in the next year? What's going to happen?
We're going to be in the same boat as we were in 2021 when it was 70 offers on a house, right? I think there's a happy medium in that low 6 range to get us into just a normal market for a couple of years, and I think that's really what we all want. We all just want a normal market for a couple of years. People that aren't afraid to sell because they're okay getting rid of their 3.5% interest rate.
Yeah.
Because 6 isn't horrible if you look at the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, no.
And but when last fall when it jumped to 8%, I mean, you probably saw the same thing here, like screeching halt.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I had goals for last year, and then as soon as it hit 8%, all those goals went away.
Oh,
There was it just stopped.
I know. I'm amazed more real estate agents haven't gotten out of the industry yet. I think that's probably coming.
I think it's coming.
Yeah.
If it's like if 60% haven't sold up to this point,
right?
And there's more and more realtors that I talk to that have gotten full-time jobs or gone back into the workforce recently.
Yeah.
That they just need that extra income and they're not getting it right now. So it's a win for everyone, because sometimes we get a little saturated in this market, especially a couple years ago when it was the wild, wild west.
Yes.
So it's okay. But I think I've read a stat like 80% of agents don't make it past 3 years.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's, most of them, and you have to, as doing this, year 4 was my best year, and now year 5 is gonna even be better. Like,
it's about how long it takes.
It does take time to build for people to recognize you as a realtor,
and for the referral business, right? Like that's what really the long-term success for real estate agents comes from. After you've sold enough houses that those people are then using it again.
Yep.
Because over 75% of people that use a real estate agent will use the same real estate agent again. If they just knew how to get in touch with them, right? Yes. That's a staggering
number. Staying in touch with your previous,
and
then obviously having a good network. I had lunch with a lender yesterday that he was actually my lender when I bought my first house in 2001. So that's how long we've been doing deals together. Now, I wasn't a realtor until a few years ago, but he's still in the lending industry, and we're going to do a partner postcard next week. We're going to send out 900 postcards and and partner up. So
brilliant,
and I think keeping that network and having more than just, you got to have more than just your sphere of influence too. You got you can't just rely on them.
No, but having that referral business, it's usually year 4 and 5. Those people that bought a house from you 5 years ago, I think the average is like 6 years. People move every 6 to 7 years. At least that's what it used to be. It's probably going to change. Everything changed after COVID.
Or even relatives, relatives that may not have used you 2 years ago, but on year 4 and 5, you're like, okay, Joe's been doing it for this long. I'm going to let him list my house.
We're the show me state, right? They want to see that you know what you're doing and you've been doing it for a little bit.
They do, they don't want to, one hit wonder that just went and got their license. And if you're, when you're listing to sell your house, it is probably one of the largest transactions you will do in your entire life. Right? It's hard to say I'm my first or second largest transaction to some new kid that just got his license 2 weeks ago, right?
Or what a lot of people think now with all these changes is that, we won't need a real estate agent at all. Right. Well, as it turns out, 10 years ago with technology, people thought, you'll just click a button and buy a house, right? There's not going to be a need for real estate agents anymore. Well, guess what? That's not at all the case. It turns out that people want to have a professional help them with the biggest transaction in their life, right? So,
I mean, there's more than just showing a house. The agent's job is mostly from contract to close, not to get the house. That's not saying that's an easy part, but it's getting that deal done. And I mean, you get so many people that, a lender may come in and say, hey, they went to their local bank and the lender said, sorry, we're not gonna be able to approve this loan. Well, a person that doesn't know is gonna be like, I guess I can't buy this house. They don't realize there's 19 other lenders that are sitting there waiting that we have a network of to say, hey, let's go talk to this person or that person and let's see if they can find you a better deal. And I've had to do that on at least 6 transactions where a lender dropped the ball. The person had brought their own lender and didn't choose one of the ones that we network with, and it happens a lot. I mean, there's a specific local bank that I've lost 3 transactions almost last minute, and we had to switch them. But that's the stuff that a first-time home buyer that doesn't have representation, they have no idea.
No.
They have no clue. Or I'll say one of my most challenging ones. I had a deal, and it was inspection deadline 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, whatever it was, and we had to either sign off on inspections to move forward or back out. Like, it was drop dead. This is deadline.
Tough.
Husband and wife got into a fight that afternoon. They left, dropped their phones. I know we're on a deadline, so I'm driving looking for this couple to
Oh,
get them
wow.
to sign these papers so we don't have breach of contract, right? I
Good for
mean,
you.
you know, so I found them, I got them together, we signed the deal at 8:58 p.m.
Oh,
And, you know, but that just happened 6 months ago. It's like, you know, who's gonna do that?
yeah.
If you don't have representation.
Right, exactly.
Right, and
Exactly.
that is one of the craziest ones I've ever had.
Yeah, that's
That
a
was,
good one.
that was pretty nuts.
Well, tell me about something that you didn't expect as a real estate agent. Like what's been more challenging than what you anticipated?
Um, you know, 8% interest rates.
Yeah.
That was, you know, that one was a shell shocker, right? You
Uh-huh,
know, when
uh-huh.
you're, you know, everything's kind of starting to go really good, and then all of a sudden, you know, economic changes make a
Yeah.
big impact on our business. So I
Sure.
think, you know, the good agents are always going to continue to sell houses because real estate's going to continue to move no matter what the interest
Sure.
rates are. You
Yeah.
know, my first house was almost 9% back in 2001, right? I mean,
Wow, yeah.
so, you know, real estate's still going to move, but it was definitely shifting my focus and how I was marketing when that happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And then a lot of agents in, you know, October, November, December just kind of threw in the towel and said, you know, I'm not getting any business going into spring because we got these high interest rates. I had spent more money in marketing in the fourth quarter last year than I've spent in the last 2 years because I knew once it turned around, I wanted to be that person that was top of mind.
Interesting. Yeah,
Right,
you
so
double down in those times, don't you? I
Yep.
mean, that's when you invest, and the temptation is to pull everything back.
Yep.
That's what you want to
Yep.
do. The fear kind of takes
is.
hold, and you're like, I gotta shut it all off because I gotta save every dollar I've got.
It is.
But the smart people are doing exactly what you did. They're doubling down on it, right? The farming, all the activities that you're doing, you double down on those so that when things do turn, you're top of mind. Because it always takes at least 60 or 90 days to ramp up, right? So if you're behind, all the people like you that were doing that work and were investing, they're going to be ahead and they're going to get all those deals. They're going to have those transactions and you're going to lose out. That's a really smart business practice that you've got in place there.
Yeah, and that you know, I read a lot of books. That one came from Grant Cardone.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know, and Grant Cardone is, if you ever listened to any of his books.
Oh yeah, sure.
And if you do it in the Audible version where he's narrating it.
Okay.
Because his energy when he's narrating over reading his pages. But that was, you know, a book I read probably 2 or 3 years ago, Grant Cardone, and he was talking about the 2008 crisis.
Okay.
He's like back in 2008 when everybody was pulling back.
Yeah,
I was ramping up, and that's when I made my most money was when that happened. And
yes.
He's like, the last thing you want to do, and no matter what job it is pull back when times are tough. That's when you got to be 100% all in.
Amen to that.
So,
who else are you listening to? Who's inspiring you these days?
I mean, Grant Cardone is definitely one of my favorite ones. Of course, you know, the Greg Keller's book is always a good one to just to put in. But trying to remember the one that I read recently. It's a real estate agent out of Los Angeles.
Okay.
Josh Cohen, maybe. Can't remember his last name. But he was a realtor a young guy that got into it and kind of stumbled his way into the luxury space. And he went from selling, you know, $300,000 homes to 20 and $30 million homes in a matter of about a 10-year period. And it was just how he marketed and how he farmed. You know, and one of the things he talked about, he's like, when you get into the business, don't just send a mailer, which I just said I'm sending mailers because that's what I'm doing.
Right.
But he went into these luxury homes and he hand wrote letters.
Yeah.
And then he hand wrote the address and hand wrote his name on everything. So when people get that in the mail, they're going to look at that.
Yeah.
My postcard is probably going to look at about 30% of the people that actually see it, right?
Yes. And guess what? If they're spending that much time working to get your business, what are they going to do with your house to market it, right?
Exactly.
That sends a message to them that this guy actually cares. He's a hard worker. Same thing with door knocking. I encourage all of our agents to get out and knock doors. Because it sends a message to people. Hey, he's out here. Nobody knocks doors anymore, right? Like, so when somebody does come to your door, like that makes a huge difference. You're like, wow, this guy is out like literally like beating the streets, right? Like he cares, and if he's working this hard to get out here and get my business, he's going to work that hard to sell my house. And is the other real estate agent going to do that? Or are they going to sit behind their computer and just throw it in the MLS and be done with it? And the last 2 years, I think has taught agents the wrong things, right? It's been too easy, and too many agents have gotten in the habit of not doing the hard work, not knocking doors, you know, not doubling down on investing in those, what used to be kind of old school tactics, right? You know, those are the things that are going to get you noticed these days.
Oh yeah, no, it is. And like I said before, you can't just use new school. You got to use old school and new school.
Right.
You know, I mean, people that have been successful in the business have been successful over many years.
Yes.
Because of some of those old school things.
Yes.
And it's okay to still do those.
Yeah.
Knocking on doors and sending mailers.
Well, you're still in your first year full time.
Yeah.
So we have to remind ourselves that, right?
Yeah.
So in 6 months, when you're not where you want to be in 5 years, you've got to remember, hey, it's gonna take a little bit more time, right? So many agents, they fall in on that first year, 3 years, because they forget that we can do a whole lot more than we think in 10 years. But we always overestimate what we can do in 1 year, right? We think that after 1 year, we're going to be, you know, at the top.
Yep.
And
most people treat this job as a job, not a business. And this is a business. You're an entrepreneur. If you're a real estate agent, you are an entrepreneur, and there is only one person that's going to be contributing to your success, and that's you.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, you know, I know some of the big brokerages will say, oh, they'll give you leads, or, you know, I have a brokerage in Florida that I'll get the occasional, you know, whatever it is, lead through their system. I mean, most of them are dead ends. Like, you know, you might get lucky, right? And get one or two. But if that's what you're relying on for your real estate business, you're not going to be successful. You know, so you know, I chose to go with a company that I'm in control of my success, and they have good support behind me, and that's all I really wanted. So
I think that model has been changing over the last decade in a pretty big way. And that's kind of the future of brokerage. Is the brokerage is giving you the tools, the resources for you to run your business, right? It's not about the brokerage anymore. It's about providing you, the agent, with everything you need to be successful. It used to be 20, 30 years ago, you literally had to walk into the brokerage office to get the keys to the house to go unlock it, right? Well, now with technology and everything, I mean, don't you see that's kind of where it's going, right? And I imagine that was part of why you chose the brokerage that you went with, is because of some of those tools and resources that give you what you need to be successful.
And you know, and the team thing just didn't really intrigue me. You know, I know everybody wants to be in part of a team now, and in the team atmosphere, but I'm not knocking it. I think that, you know, for some agents, I think that's the best route. You know, for some agents to go.
A lot of reps.
Right. So, you know, but you just have to figure out what your niche is.
I think long term, most agents are not going to be able to be really successful the way they envision themselves being successful in real estate. Because everybody, when they get into real estate, like, there's a lot of upside, right? You do it because there's almost no limit to what you can accomplish. But on a team, I think there is a limit, right? Like, you're not going to be able to find that next degree of success. So that's kind of my philosophy with teams. I think they can be really good for the newer agents. Great experience. You get a lot of reps in, but then at some point you've got to find that way to kind of break free and create your own business, you know, where you're getting your own leads instead of being fed leads. Right.
I agree.
Teach a man to fish, feed him.
Oh yeah. No, I agree 100%. You know, and you know, I mean, I wish every realtor the best, and nothing makes me happier when I, you know, pick up the phone and I'm under contract with another realtor that knows what they're doing. You know, you know, that's always a bonus. So I know the one that I just got under contract with today, it's a realtor that's well known, and you know, I think a top 1% in her industry or her company. So it's like, I know we're going to be in good hands. This is going to be a hopefully pretty smooth transaction. So
that's awesome. Well, is there anything else that you would want to share with anyone who's watching here about how you can help them, what you do, what makes you special and unique?
I mean, I think, you know, my niches don't list it marketing, right? We've talked about it already. So many agents just list on the MLS, take their cell phone out and take some pictures. And don't get me wrong, our cell phones take really good pictures, but that doesn't mean they're professional photos. And marketing is a lot more than just doing, you know, professional photos. And some agents say, well, that's how I'm doing it, is I'm going to get professional photos. Well, getting the video footage, doing some reels, doing some TikToks, doing some Facebook ads, targeted Facebook ads are some of the best success that I've had. But the most important thing is you want to get a listing out to as many people as possible to bring in the most qualified amount of qualified buyers possible to get you the best offer, right? So, you know, if that means doing some extra TikToks and email marketing and sending out 1,000 or 2,000 mailers, then so be it.
That's what it takes.
There are some listings that we know are just going to sell just like that, and
Yeah.
we may not hit every single point of all those, but we're still doing still doing a marketing program. I'm still getting that house out there and marketing it the best we can to get as many people in there.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job with it. Sounds like your clients are being well served. You've got a lot of experience and knowledge, from short-term rentals all the way through to, it sounds like, some luxury properties as well. So lots that you can help people with.
Definitely got my hands in a lot of little things, but
but
it all fits together in the same business. I mean,
absolutely,
managing rental, properties is still real estate. It's still, still in there, and helping investors invest in short-term rentals in Florida. I've closed on 3 deals already this year to help investors. 2 of them bought their first ever short-term rental.
Wow.
As far as, beach type properties. So being able to help people in that niche has been, it's been a lot of fun, because, it's a great way for financial independence, for financial freedom is real estate investing, and in the short-term rental space can be a lot of fun.
That sounds exciting, man. Well, thanks so much for being here with us. It's been great.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. All right.
Appreciate it.